On the next localized change, I want to work with the gradient filter. So once again, I start in Bridge. I've got my image selected. I'm going to use Command R. I just like to use the quick keys, move a lot faster. So I've got a single image, and then once again, you guys can open as many images as you would like to fill up this bottom toolbar, and I recommend working on multiple images at once. That's really the power of the Adobe Camera Raw interface. So on this particular image, there's several different things going on with it. You'll see once again, I've already set my auto corrections. I like the basic overall look of it, and it's a little bright in the highlights. So now what I want to do is I'm just looking at the histogram here, but I'm noting that it's just a little bit bright overall. So I'm going to go into the global changes. I want to darken just a little bit more. I just want to see a bit more detail throughout the highlight areas here. So with this particular image, what I want to focus on now is really kind of dealing with an edge that might be too bright. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the gradient tool, hover over it. You're going to know the gradient or graduated filter. I call it the gradient as it transitions. It's what it's called in Photoshop. So the graduated filter is, once again, as I hover over it again, you're going to get the quick key command of G for the graduated filter. I'm going to go ahead and select on that. Once again, you know, for the purposes of demonstration, I like to click on the mask options here, and you're going to notice the graduated filter up here. So we're going to start with a new one. I'm going to go ahead and start that. I know that I want to darken it. So on the left-hand side of exposure, it's going to go darker, and the right-hand side is going lighter. You're going to notice that tone within the slider itself. It's darker on one side, lighter on the other. I'm going to go ahead and pull that down just to darken it overall. I'll probably bring a little bit of the highlight. And then there's a lot of different changes that it allows us to do here in terms of what's going on with these sliders, and I'll probably focus on that in a different video at this particular point. Some of these different settings down below, they're just hidden, and I've got this slider that I can go between all these different settings. So I've already got that set. Now to actually using the tool. I'm going to reduce the overall size of the image using a Command or Control minus. You can also, in addition to doing that, you have the size preferences here. This is something I really enjoy much more in Adobe Camera Raw than in Lightroom. In Lightroom, you're not allowed to, or it doesn't allow you to really focus on and change the size of the image as you're working on the raw corrections. So here I can, got a little bit minimized to some degree. Now with the graduated filter, I'm just going to click and drag. And you're going to notice that pink comes onto the image right there. What I'm going to notice is going to transition from, this is going to be 100% to 0%. The green dot is going to be anything above it. So if I pull it in, everything on the upper side of this is going to be, it's going to be applied to all the changes that I made over here. So depending upon what those changes are, and they're easily adaptable. So this is a localized change once again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off these mask options because it does give us kind of the incorrect understanding of what's going on. So I'm going to unclick that. And now you can see how much darker that edge is. And, you know, that looks not acceptable in my particular opinion. It's just the transition is too quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back that off. And now you can see how that is transitioning from the green dot down to the red dot where the mask is here. This is looking much better. I like that, the smoother transition. And I'm going to go ahead and just see if there's anything else I want to do there. Maybe just take down the whites just a touch. And then I can pull this and stretch out that area that it transitions. You can see if I accidentally click off of it and then click on a new one, it's going to set a new graduated filter. And I'm just going to hit the delete key to get rid of that. So if I want to get rid of this particular setting here, I can just select it. So the colors are telling me that it's activated. And once it's activated, I can just delete it if I'd like, or I can continue to make corrections based upon what I'm looking at. Those selective edits over here, you know, can deal with anything from color to tone within the image. and then we'll get more into the more advanced settings later on. But I want to focus on just brightening and darkening areas. You will notice within the color photography course, I want you to focus on things such as color. With this particular image, maybe what I would do is, I don't like that it's getting so dark on the corner, so I can open up the shadows just a little bit, and you can see how that balances that overall kind of transition from the edge, and then I can darken it a little bit more. These tools do take a lot of time to get a really good grasp of, and I just want to stress that as you're working on your images. I'm going to go ahead and do one more from the opposite side. So it's going to pull from the last changes that I made. If you don't like that, there's a setting down at the bottom where it says auto reset sliders. You know, generally that's just going to be going from tool to tool, so it's going to pick up where you left off. For this particular one, you know, when I'm within a tool and make a new setting or a new selection, it's going to maintain the same settings I used from the last one. And then in terms of resetting settings, I want to stress that you just need to double click on these, double click, everything gets set back. You know, in addition to that, you can go back to these reset the settings here, and this is just going to reset everything. So getting us back to square one. So maybe you don't want to do that. Not a problem. I can just go in here, reset that. I pretty much remember where I was, you know, bring down the whites here, and there I am again. And then I just need to open up my shadows. It does take practice. It's going to take you a few times to do this. And then we'll bring one in from the bottom here. And, you know, what I'm doing is I've got the overall correction set, and that's how the graduated filter works, working on the edges, you know, for darkening areas selectively for your images.